This is QTV News coming to you from our studios on Calabar Avenue with me, Ansmana Esonyase. Here are the main news headlines. The Central Bank of the Gambia, in collaboration with the Ministry of Digital Economy, Majalub Foundation and the Institute of Inclusive Digital Africa, successfully concluded a week-long stakeholders training on inclusive financial payments. The Gambia Public Procurement Authority, GPPA, Friday officially handed over procurement autonomy to 9 public entities. This historic event marks a significant shift in how public resources will be managed. The Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance and the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service and partners concluded the validation of the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services Organizational Guidance Manual. And the Gambia Women Journalists Association, WOJAC, launched a $15,000 worth project on Thursday, which aims to empower the rights of women and girls in the Gambia. In international news, as the Israel-Gaza conflict continues to dominate global news, a Gambian politician has joined voices from around the world advocating for a solution to end the violence. Well, stay tuned for more on these and other stories. The Central Bank of the Gambia, in collaboration with the Ministry of Digital Economy, Majalub Foundation and the Institute of Inclusive Digital Africa, successfully concluded a week-long stakeholders training on inclusive financial payments. More in this report. The training aimed to foster knowledge sharing on best practices and to develop a framework for implementing an inclusive payment system. Organized by the Central Bank and its partners, the event attracted participants from commercial banks and digital money transfer agencies within the financial sector. At the conclusion of the training, Karamo Jawara, Director of Banking and Payment Systems at the Central Bank of the Gambia, highlighted the critical need for an inclusive payment system and praised stakeholders for their engagement in the training. Victor Malu, Senior Business Development Lead at Majalub Foundation, and Dr. Nikais Idrisulale, Regional Program Manager at the Institute of Inclusive Digital Africa, emphasized the positive impact an inclusive payment system could have on various businesses across the Gambia.
The key word on this is the inclusiveness, so that everybody is carried along. I think another part of the journey would be the financial literacy, so that to raise that awareness. And then you all in this room here will be the ambassadors to actually project that.
My understanding is that this is the start of a great undertaking that will completely transform the payments landscape and financial inclusion in the Gambia. I look forward to being a fellow traveler on this journey.
Financial inclusion is essential for sustainable development and reducing inequalities. As for us in India, we are committed to supporting an inclusive and efficient payment system aiming to make the Gambia a model of financial inclusion in West Africa by 2030.
Participants Keba Sise and Babukar Drame, Chief Technical Officer at GamSwitch, expressed their gratitude to the Central Bank and its partners for organizing the training, encouraging their peers to apply the knowledge gained in their daily practices.
We've learned a lot. Let's take the insights and the knowledge gained here forward. Let's form groups. Let's not let it die here, right? Let's figure it out. Like, there's a lot of us here, and a lot of us are playing very different roles, in this sector.
We all share a common ideology that we need to transcend the payment ecosystem of the Gambia from where it is right now to where we want it to be.
Inclusive instant payment systems provide a more cash-like experience, leveraging technology to facilitate seamless transactions among clients with different financial service providers. This approach enhances financial security and improves the efficiency of financial service delivery. Answane Nyase for KTV News. Now, the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance, DCAF, and the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service, with support from the French government, concluded the validation of the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services Organizational Guidance Manual on Thursday. Lamin Dabo reports.
Since 2017, the Gambia has been on a democratic journey, using various reform processes, establishing clear objectives, including security sector reform, the development of the new organizational guidance manual aligns with the goals of the country's security sector reform SSR process. GFRS officials emphasized the urgent need for such a guidance manual, noting that their previous manual, last reviewed in 1964, is outdated and inadequate for modern operations and interventions. Ken Isaac, head of DCAF's country office, has played a crucial role in partnering with the GFRS in the formulation and validation of this important organizational guidance manual.
This guidance manual that everyone's been working so diligently on during the last 2 weeks, it will serve as a foundation and structure for reform. It will assist in modernising the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service. It will set high standards which are warranted by your senior management team. It will also improve the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service efficiency and your effectiveness.
In her statement, Deputy Chief Fire Officer Mariama Jobate described this milestone as a dream come true, saying the institution has long awaited such an important document, which will significantly enhance its service delivery. Roger Bakurin, a former Chief Fire Officer, was the national consultant for this organizational guidance manual.
By developing these documents, somebody at the police, somebody at the army, and even firefighters themselves can go through these documents and see what we do and how we do it, so that we can interact better in operations. You will know what is specific to this guy and what is specific to the guy. In the long term, it's going to create a very smooth operations when we meet on the field, on the ground, and then that's for the greater good of all Gambians.
Participants emphasized that the significance of this document cannot be overstated, as it will benefit fire service personnel and other security institutions in the country, particularly during emergency responses. Pate Jiba, the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service Public Relations Officer, delivered the vote of thanks.
I would like to first of all express gratitude to those that contributed towards making this event a success. That is from the technical working group itself, by extension to the entire staff and management of the CAF, and then having policies, guidance manuals, SOPs, and all that it takes to move this institution is what commendable.
With the successful validation of the GFRS Modern Organizational Guidance Manual, personnel will be able to fully understand and implement the document, which will serve as a vital tool for enhancing professionalism and standardizing operations, ultimately supporting quality and efficient service delivery. For QTV News, I am Lamin Alaifandindabo.
On Friday, the Gambia Public Procurement Authority (GPPA) officially handed over procurement autonomy to 9 public entities. This historic ceremony took place at the National Assembly, marking a significant shift in how public resources will be managed. Usman Jatta has the details.
The Gambia Public Procurement Authority is decentralizing its procurement mandate. These public entities are receiving their procurement autonomy certificates. Mr. Ibrahim Sanyang is the Director of Procurement Policy and Operations at the Gambia Procurement Authority. Director Sanyang gave an overview of the procurement autonomy issuance.
The authorization of these institutions embodies our commitment to empowering them to manage their procurement functions effectively, all while upholding the highest standards of transparency and integrity.
The 9 entities receiving autonomy include the Independent Electoral Commission (IEC), the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority (PURA), Central Bank of the Gambia, the Ministry of Gender and Social Welfare, Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, the Ministry of Interior, Office of the Ombudsman, and Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute. The Capacity Assessment Team Leader at GPPA, Muhammad Sawane, outlines the authorization criteria.
to assess the professional qualification and experience of the contracts committee. 3, establishment of specialized procurement unit of various procurement organizations. Professional qualification and experience of the specialized procurement unit. Volume and frequency of procurements of various procurement organizations. Observations of the principles of procurement.
Established in 2001, the Gambia Public Procurement Authority aims to regulate government procurement, ensuring that all processes are in line with best practices. Fode M. Jaite, the director of the GPPA, outlines the importance of decentralization.
Decentralization empowers authorized organizations to manage their procurement needs independently, allowing for greater efficiency, swifter decision-making, and improved responsiveness to the unique demands of each sector. The Public Procurement Act specifically mandates that organizations seeking to exercise this authority must undergo a thorough assessment by the Gambia Public Procurement Authority.
Authorized institutions were urged to develop the capacity of their procurement personnel to further strengthen productivity. Dr. Solomon J. Jata represented the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs. Jogoba is the director of the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority.
Today's authorization is not merely a procedural formality, it represents our collective resolve to build a responsive and effective public sector that meets the needs of our citizens.
I want to remind myself and my colleagues in procurement to always adhere to procurement standards and procedures that align with our national economic development objectives.
This bold step towards procurement autonomy is hoped to be the catalyst for a more transparent and efficient public service. Osman Jata, reporting for QTV News.
And the report there by Osman Jata will lead us to the commercial break, but we will be right back.
Welcome to the future of transportation in the Gambia. The Bertel Harding Highway, a 22-kilometer double carriageway, is set to revolutionize travel and connectivity in our beloved country. A 3-lane highway means more space for vehicles, smoother traffic flow, and reduced congestion. Each lane has a specific purpose. The leftmost lane for overtaking and faster vehicles, the middle lane for standard driving, and the rightmost lane for slower and turning vehicles.
Welcome back. Now, the Women Journalists Association of the Gambia, WOJAC, launched a $15,000 worth project on Thursday, which aims to empower women and girls in the Gambia. Rohit Samba tells us more.
Title: Empowering Her Voice, Building Capacities for Change. The initiative is funded by the U.S. Embassy in Banjul. This marks WOJAC's largest effort to date to enhance the skills of women journalists through training and resources, while also amplifying the voices of vulnerable women and girls and advocating for women's rights. Annette Kamara, president of the Women Journalists Association of the Gambia, expressed delight in launching the project.
Today, Empower Her Voice project stands as our largest and most ambitious project ever in the history of women journalism. Arriving at a time when the media's influence in shaping the narratives, driving societal change, and advocating for women's rights has never been more critical. We have registered substantial milestones leading to this moment. Chief among these are the ongoing 6-month mentorship program. Currently, 20 passionate women journalists are being guided by seasoned mentors who share their expertise in ethical reporting, content creation, reporting about women, and overcoming the industry's challenge.
The project also aims at equipping women journalists with the skills required to champion the fight against FGM and sexual and gender-based violence. Sharon L. Cromer, U.S. Ambassador to the Gambia, emphasized the project's significance and the embassy's dedication to supporting women and the media in promoting freedom of expression.
Through the U.S. Embassy's Here for Her Well-Being campaign, we have taken significant steps to highlight the importance of protecting the rights of women and girls. This campaign underscores our dedication to creating an environment where women and girls can live free from the fear of violence and discrimination. The Empower Her Voice project is one example of the U.S. Embassy's dedication to empowering women.
Bakari Waibaji, the Minister for Youth and Sports, congratulated WOJAC on this achievement and reaffirmed his commitment to supporting women and girls.
So today I'm pleased to congratulate the Women Journalists Association of the Gambia, WOJAC, on securing this very significant milestone in their journey as a Women Journalists Association. WOJAC receiving the $15,000 awarded to the association is one of its first projects, or one of the biggest projects that the association has secured. And we must appreciate and thank the American Embassy for providing this significant support to this women association, which I believe they deserve because they've been working so hard since the relaunching of the association a few years ago.
Additionally, WOJAC has initiated the Safe Space Project, a community-based initiative designed to provide support and safety for women journalists while empowering them and building their capacities. Reporting for KTV News, I am Rohit Samba.
Now, with less than 2 weeks to World Diabetes Day, our reporter Lena Igwenyiba speaks with some members of the Young Gambia Diabetes Association, a group primarily composed of young type 1 diabetes patients, about their work and their challenges.
Contrary to common myths that diabetes is caused by eating too much sugar, leading to some referring to it as sugar diabetes, that people with diabetes can't eat any sweets, or that avoiding sugar is the most important aspect of managing the condition. The truth is that diabetes is more complex. Simply put, diabetes occurs when the body can't control blood sugar properly. In type 1 diabetes, the pancreas stops producing insulin, the hormone that helps regulate the use of sugar for energy, meaning diabetes require daily insulin shots. Type 2 diabetes, often linked to diet or weight, is when the body doesn't use insulin effectively, requiring management through medicine, a healthy diet, and exercise. Here is Usman Sise, president of the Young Gambia Diabetes Association, and a type 1 diabetes patient for over a decade.
We don't know the cause, but we said like it is inherited, like inherited from the family, a family lineage. So that's what we know about like the causes of diabetes. But nowadays they said the lifestyle too, what we eat, how we eat, when we eat.
Fatou M. Jame, a fellow association member, highlighted various advocacy activities the association has organized, including their plans for World Diabetes Day on November the 14th.
We do screenings like every November. Before the 14th, we will go and do the screenings, and then after the 14th, we go to schools and educate them about diabetes and also do screenings. And on the highways, on the malls that we stand on, we do the screening as well for people, passerbys who wants to test themselves. And sometimes we do contribute, some of us, we contribute in the association, and then we help ourselves and then to buy the test strips and test the people in the streets.
Appealing for broader support, Usman emphasized the need for collaboration with organizations to increase awareness and assist diabetic patients across the Gambia.
We have only one support, and they are far away from this country, but it is not enough. We need support from the government, we need support from WHO, we need support from UN, we need support from all the health organizations or the health institutions to raise awareness, to buy insulins for the young kids, for the test strips, for the testing machines, because we need to test our sugar levels 5 times a day, and without enough, we cannot do that, and that can cause diabetes-related complications.
Recent data from a 2023 study by the MRC unit, the Gambia, reveals a 6.3% diabetes prevalence rate, with 7.0 of women and 5.6 of men affected. The advice is, stay in control of diabetes, balance your plate, stay active, keep track of blood sugar, and never skip checkups. Small steps add up to a healthier life. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena Igwenyuba.
Coming up next is international news. In international news, Gaza is but the latest chapter in a decades-long conflict that shows no signs of resolution. Although there are many conflicts happening globally, this one, with perhaps the Russia-Ukraine conflict, is dominating the global news cycle. As QTV's Usman Jatta reports, Khalifa Saleh, the Secretary General of DOI, advocates a solution which could end the conflict.
Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a war of decades, dominating global attention. Since the eruption of fresh tensions on October 7, 2023, over 40,000 Palestinians and 139 Israelis have lost their lives, according to sources from both sides. As the war expands into neighboring Lebanon, Iran, the main backer of Lebanon-based Hezbollah, intervened, firing more than 100 missiles into Israel, further escalating the tension. This episode was followed by the assassination of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah on September 27th. He was replaced by Naim Qasim, one of the few Hezbollah leaders still alive. After 2 weeks, an Israeli drone image shows how they slew Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Palestinian nationalist political and military organization, Hamas. As air raid sirens wail and rocket fires fill the skies, civilians on both sides bear the brunt of escalating violence. In Gaza, a staggering 1.9 million civilians have been forcibly displaced amid Israel's military operations. In Israel, communities near the border remain on high alert, seeking shelter as missiles rain down. Khalifa Saleh, the Secretary General of the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, offers a theoretical solution to the conflict.
The ultimate solution is really to move the Palestinian people and the Israeli people from the hands of these people who are extremists. That is what is required by demanding that there is a referendum in Israel and a referendum in Palestine for them to ask them whether they accept the two-state solution. Once they accept the two-state solution, then the people will decide. That is really ultimately what the solution would be.
On July 24, 1992, the League of Nations entrusted Great Britain with the mandate for Palestine, recognizing the historical connection of the Jewish people with Palestine. Great Britain was called upon to facilitate the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine, Eretz Israel. The creation of this mandate ratified the so-called Balfour Declaration, drawn up by the British and guaranteeing a Jewish homeland in the Middle East. It can be strongly argued that this declaration and its adaptation are at the roots of today's conflict. After the UN General Assembly adopted the resolution to partition Palestine on November 29, 1947, however, Britain announced the termination of its mandate over Palestine. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was announced, sparking the First Arab-Israeli War. To date, global reactions have been swift, condemning the violence and calling for an immediate ceasefire, calls that have gone unheeded. The UN repeatedly urges both sides to return to negotiations. However, skepticism remains high as previous attempts at peace failed amid ongoing hostilities. Osman Jatta, reporting for QTV News.
And that report there by Osman Jatta brings to an end this edition of the news. But before we take a leave of you, here's a recap from main headlines. The Central Bank of the Gambia, in collaboration with the Ministry of Digital Economy, Majalub Foundation and the Institute of Inclusive Digital Africa, successfully concluded a week-long stakeholders training on inclusive financial payments. The Gambia Public Procurement Authority, GPPA, Friday officially handed over procurement autonomy to 9 public entities. This historic event marks a significant shift in how public resources will be managed. And the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance and the Gambia Fire and Rescue Service and partners concluded the validation of the Fire and Rescue Service's Organizational Guidance Manual. The Women Journalists Association of the Gambia, WOJAC, launched a $15,000 worth project on Thursday, which aims to empower the rights of women and girls in the Gambia. And in international news, as the Israel-Gaza conflict continues to dominate global news, Khalifa Saleh, a Gambian politician, has joined voices from around the world advocating a solution to end the violence. Well, that's it for this edition of the news. Do join us tomorrow for more news. Until then, thanks for watching.